welcome to the Doofcast, the official variety podcast of doofmedia.com. I am your host, the petrified statue of Scott Daly.
And I'm the petrified statue of Matt Freeman.
This week on our show, we will be reviewing the new Disney animated film, Raya and the Last Dragon. We're doing one of those new movie reviews, Matt. We haven't done those in a while.
Yeah, we have not. So for those of you who might have forgotten, we're going to review with 15 minutes or so spoiler-free segment first, and then we're going to move on to full spoilers section in case some of you folks haven't seen the movie yet and then you just want to avoid spoilers.
That's right. We will have a very clear demarcation between those two sections, so you'll know when to skip, and we'll even put the time codes in our show notes for you in case you're just extremely spoiler phobic. We don't want to spoil anything for anyone. Mm-hmm. Then we've got the results of last week's Doof Council vote on the movie Dark City. It was a very heated conversation we had last week. Actually, it wasn't. I think we both agreed. I think that the heatedness was our listeners' reaction to our conversation a little bit. But we've got the results of the vote on whether or not that movie is going to be put into our canon of greatest films of all time. And then we're going to finish up the episode with the results of round 2 of our 64 movie March Madness tournament. And then Matt and I will be making our selections for our Sweet 16 round. The numbers are dwindling really fast here, Matt.
Yeah. It's getting more and more exciting.
It is, and more and more difficult as we go. Mm-hmm. But first, let's talk about Raya and the Last Dragon.
Let's catch you up. My name is Raya. Our lands have been at war for as long as we can remember. Our people never see eye to eye.
My daughter, I believe our people can come together again, but someone has to take the first step.
Now, in order to restore peace, we must find the last dragon.
I wish to join this fellowship of butt-kickery.
Let's go.
Matt, what is this movie all about?
In a realm known as Kumandra, a reimagined Earth inhabited by an ancient civilization, a warrior named Raya is determined to find the last dragon.
That is a very spoiler-free summary there. Good job, IMDb. I like it. Yeah. Gives you a little idea, but not too much.
Yeah, not bad.
This movie was written by Qui Guen and Adele Lim and directed by Don Hall and Carlos Lopez Estrada. It was also co-directed by Paul Briggs and John Ripa. I don't like, when it comes to animated films, like the director role is a little different than normal films. So I think I like it had directed by, and then it had this parenthetical co-directed by these two people. So I don't know if I don't know if Paul Briggs and John Ripa are animators, that they're like, we're directing a lot of the animation. I don't know how it works, but 4 directors on this one.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes they break things down in unintuitive ways that are difficult to guess at.
Yeah. There's also 8 story credits on this movie. The Qui Guen and Adele Lim both have screenplay credits, but there's 4 story credits on top of those. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Frankly, I'm surprised that this movie works as well as it does, considering how many cooks were in the kitchen.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Remember, This is our spoiler-free, just overall discussion of the movie. Matt, what did you think of Raya and the Last Dragon?
So I like this movie. I have seen it twice now. And the reason for that is that my kids really like this movie a lot. And as I've said occasionally, when we talk about movies that are either kids' movies or movies that kids enjoy, that it counts a lot with me when they really love something. Like mm-hmm. it makes me like it more usually, because it forces me to notice the things in the movie that I normally would either not notice or just sort of like it's not on my wavelength. And so I get what it's doing, but I don't care. But when I see that it works on them, I respect it, because I'm like, okay, well, they're accomplishing exactly what they're trying to accomplish. I'm just not the target. And then that makes me kind of appreciate it as a piece of art, where it's like, it's not a piece of art that's for me, but it's clearly a piece of art that's been very well made, very carefully made, and it's working. And yeah, they love it. They keep asking to watch it. Like, they wanted to watch it again tonight, and I was like, we literally just watched it. I don't want to watch it again. But yeah, I like it a lot. What did you feel about it?
I think that's a really good point. Companies like Pixar, they make kids movies, but they're also adult movies, right? Like, I don't know if you've watched Soul yet.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
But Soul is a movie about a 40-something-year-old man dealing with a midlife crisis. Like, I don't know how your kids felt about that movie, but my reaction to watching it was like, are kids going to have anything to grab onto this movie except for how the character is kind of silly and funny looking. I mean the soul of the I forget her name, the one played by Tina Fey. But and all the cat humor. Like I think that's all kids like. There's nothing thematic to grapple onto there because it's like no kid is thinking about searching for meaning of their life when it's halfway over. This is not what kids are thinking about.
Right. I mean, definitely. Like, I mean, that's a really interesting question, and I'm not actually sure about that movie because, like, maybe the older of my kids were able to grasp, in some sense, the idea of like dying before you've accomplished what you wanted to accomplish as a theme. Because that is sort of like once you understand death, you can understand thoughts like that. But like the youngest kid, I think, was just bored by that movie, and that's unfortunate. But it's like okay, but like it's not. It doesn't have a fight between a dragon and some giant cats or whatever. So like,
right. I mean, that's kind of a way for me to talk about this movie, which is I think is, you know, I do not have kids quite yet, so I did not have the experience of watching it with kids, but I did watch it like trying to get through the lens of what is a kid going to get out of this movie, and I do think it is a movie that is very expertly pointed and made for young people of that age, especially I think young women in some senses. It's not like a complicated movie, you know, like it's the themes of the movie that we'll get into in spoilers and what the movie is trying to do and the ways it does it is very classic. It's kind of classic storytelling techniques and not too complicated, pretty simple to understand, pretty simple to get to, pretty easy to emotionally attach itself to. And I think that's fine because I do think it is a movie for younger children. And I think you're absolutely right that it succeeds in that. I think this is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. I think this is one of the prettiest animated films ever. Like the colors and the animation was just on point here. Some of the fighting and like the dragons look so good and they move so good. No spoilers really, but when the dragons kind of run on air and they like those little patches of water appear underneath their feet, that just looks amazing. It just like, this movie is stunning to look at. Like I watched it twice too, and the second time I really just kind of sat back and just looked at it. Just really just looked at it, and I was just blown away. So I really enjoy this movie. Kelly Marie Tran is playing the lead character Raya. This is the first movie she's gotten to lead after everything happened with Star Wars, and frankly, the third Star Wars movie really screwed her over. So I think she's really fantastic in this movie. I want to talk about that in spoilers with you for a bit, but I think she's really good. I don't know. I loved I have very small quibbles with this movie, but overall, I really, really enjoyed my time with it.
Yeah, I just kind of want to run through and maybe reiterate some of the points you just made or riff on them. Like again, Kelly Marie Tran does a really great job with the voice acting and then the animation on top of that is maybe the best I've seen. Like in terms of like, cause there are some really emotional moments in this and the voice acting sells it. And then the, you know, I don't know what the right word is for this, but like the animated portrayal of the characters, you know, grief or conflict or anger or, you know, grief turning into anger in a single shot is like, oh my God, like, you know, you kind of get chills and it's like, this is animated. This is like your brain is like, man, what a great performance. And you're like, that's an animation brain, not a performance, but it works. It works really well. Like I was deeply impressed by just like, like there's a scene toward the end, and this is really not a spoiler other than to say it's like the climactic moment of the story. And every character gets a moment of incredibly powerful, like, you know, close up basically. And it just works so well. I think
it is emotion that is almost entirely reliant on facial animation, realistic facial animation to sell the moment. And it does it. I was trying to not be hyperbolic by saying this is like the best animated movie I've ever seen, or the best animation rather that I've ever seen. But I think it is. I really do. It's remarkable.
Yeah. So you also mentioned the fighting, and I'm pretty difficult to please when it comes to fighting in anything, in movies and whatever. But like I was just like, man, this is great. Like this is great fight, like choreography, direction, like where the camera is, the sense of you know ferocity and motion and violence to it. I was like, I mean, not that I necessarily shy from showing my kids violent content as a rule, but I was like, I'm surprised at how violent this is for being just like a mainstream Disney cartoon film,
Sure.
And not in a way that's critical at all. I was just like, man, they really went for it. Actually, they did not try to make this seem like anything other than anger and violence.
I mean, it's so key to what the movie is doing.
Yes,
that it needs to be that way.
Yes, because because of what the theme is, it's like that undercut that not undercut that underlines it. Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the things I noticed that I thought was interesting is that the way they animated the action is very like, this is an animated movie, right? So they could do whatever they want. Like, they could put the camera wherever they want. They could cut whenever they want. It's like free reign. And I think they formulated and choreographed these action set pieces as if it was a physical movie.
Yeah.
Because the way they like pay attention to where the camera is located in space, there's cutting, like, the very typical action thing is to like cut on a punch. And that's normally done because you don't want your actors to actually get punched. And so you just hide the fact that it's a stunt double, or hide the fact that the punch is not really landing by like cutting before the hit. And this does that. Part of me wondered if the reason it does that is because you said the movie is pretty violent, and if like you showed the full force of like someone's punching someone in the face as hard as they could, that might be too much for the overlords at Disney as far as violence goes. But it's constructed like a martial arts film, just an animation. I thought that was a really interesting choice because they don't have to do it that way. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, there's just so many tiny details. Like, we just talked about Pacific Rim, which is another movie where we kind of raved about, like, okay, there's giant monster versus robot fights.
Mm-hmm.
And a big reason why that movie works so well is that the movie communicates the sense of weight and mass and power of these giant robots. And like, these are just people fighting, but what it communicates is it communicates a sense of physicality. Like, when a person crouches down, you see their rear foot shifts like 2 degrees as it accommodates for the torsion of their knee joint, and then getting better purchase on the ground. Like you know what I mean? Like the tiniest little notes of like, what does the human body actually do? And like, how does your body behave when you like slam a sword into something? Like there's a jerk. there's like a physical jerk where like just every detail of the physicality of the human body was captured in a way that I just haven't, maybe I've seen before, but I haven't noticed before. And it really jumped out to me in this one.
I mean, that's really cool because that's the kind of stuff that in live action, you just don't have to think about that stuff because the body's just going to do it automatically and you don't have to think about it. But yeah, you have to have animators that sit down and study the human form, and I'm sure some of this or a lot of this is motion capture, but still you have to represent that subtlety and that tiny movement that just, it is animation, but it doesn't feel floaty. The physics feel accurate. Everything moves with power and force, and it's all great. Like, our main character Raya rolls around on a little it's
like an armadillo thing.
Yeah, it's like a cute Disneyfied armadillo bear thing.
Yeah.
And that like feels big and heavy and powerful.
Yeah.
It's all great. It's all great.
Yeah.
The only thing I want to talk about before we move into spoilers is just like, hey, they really like Avatar. The people that made this movie really like Avatar and Korra, right? I mean, like, without getting into specifics, this owes a lot of praise and love towards those movies. I think
so, but I think they understand. Like, I think they're doing it right. Like, I think this is a worthy thing to have derived some ideas from Avatar.
It's not just a carbon copy, right? I mean, they're taking it and they're like, thematically, we've been specifically and pointedly avoiding talking about the themes because I feel like that starts to spoil what the movie is doing. But thematically, this is a very different animal than Avatar.
It's a very different animal, and they don't try to shoehorn, like, nothing is shoehorned. Like, nothing. No. I think that's maybe the nicest, in a backhanded compliment kind of way, thing you can say is like, at no point do you kind of like roll your eyes as the adult thinking like, well, I guess they had to stick that in there because it's a kids movie and they're pandering to the children. Like, no, it just doesn't. I mean, it's got silly jokes, but I don't see that as pandering. That's just the kind of movie it is. And
I mean, there there are beetles that when they fart it explodes. So I mean that feels like I don't have kids, but that's like I saw those things and I think I messaged you. It was like, did your kids find those hilarious? Because there's no way a child will not find that hilarious.
Yes, they did. They loved it. Yeah. I think my final pre-spoilers comment would just be like, it is genuinely very well paced on top of all of that.
I mean, I honestly, my only complaint about the movie, and I want to get into this in detail in spoilers, is that while it is well paced, I kind of wish it was longer. I wish we got more time in each of our different regions to really study what those people were about.
Sure. Yeah, I won't disagree with that. I mean, I guess that's a sign of how much I was enjoying it, that I was like, hey, we actually, when I say it is well paced, another way of saying that is like it moves at a really good clip, which is always good, right? Like it's always better to move at a good clip, but if you're enjoying it that much, you're like, oh, maybe we could have slowed down and spent some more time in this area.
Yeah, I mean, that's the weird kind of confused point I'm trying to make here, is that I feel like it moves very well, and the movie doesn't ever feel like it's going too fast. It doesn't feel like it's going too slow, but I do wonder, and I hate that I'm saying this because I hate the idea that everything's being turned into a fucking television series. I hate it. I love movies. I love the movie as an art form, and I hate that we're just all turning every idea into like a 10 episode season. But like, there's really a part of me that wonders like, oh, like we're in 5 different regions throughout the course of this movie. I wish we could just like stay there for a while and just like learn about that culture and those people and what makes them tick. And obviously we kind of sort of do that through the characters that represent each of those different regions, but we move through that very, very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, number one, wouldn't be surprised if they did that.
Yeah, they might just do that.
They might just do that. And then number two, like, that's definitely, if you're familiar with Avatar, The Last Airbender, you're going to be thinking that. You're going to be like, I wish we could have a whole side adventure here, because that's what you would do if it was Avatar.
Yeah, that is very true. That's true. Maybe that's where that's coming from. I don't know. Anything else before we move on to spoilers?
No.
Here's the question I'll ask you. This is before we move on to spoilers. This movie costs $30 on Disney Plus, right? This is Disney's second experiment with Disney Plus Premium, which is a one-time fee on top of their already paid subscription fee. I believe they've said this will be like $30 until June, I think they said, and then in June it will open up to Disney Plus subscribers just generally, right? So we paid $30 for this, and we paid $30 collectively, right? We didn't. There's 2 of us, so we got to kind of share the load a little bit there.
And my kids all got to watch it, and
So I mean, do you think it's a movie that's worth dropping that price tag on?
I mean, I do, because I have 3 kids,
right?
And they love it, and we've watched it twice now, and now they get to be like the cool kids who have seen the thing early, which, I mean, I'm sorry, but that is the sort of thing that matters to kids.
That's true. That's true.
So like, do I wish it was $20 instead of $30? Yeah, kind of. But then also it's like, but they don't do this very often, right? Like,
no.
It really, I think maybe one way of saying this is like, at some date in the future, maybe there'll be like 6 movies per week that are coming out that you could drop $30 for. And then I will be confused and not know what to do. But right now it's like every few weeks you have one opportunity to spend $30 on a movie at home. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's about as often as I'd be going to the theater anyway. And that's about as much as I'd be spending on the theater. And so, yes, this makes sense to me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the future of the world is going to look like, right? I mean, the vaccines are coming out, theaters are opening up again, because conceivably by the time this thing hits regular Disney Plus, people are just going to movies again. And is Disney going to roll the dice again with this? I like, given the option of going to a theater and paying $30 to see this at home, I probably would have gone to the theater, and it would have cost me $30, right? Mm-hmm. To me and my wife, $15 a ticket would have been $30. I still would have rather done that. I could have done that right now. This movie is technically also in theaters. I'm not going to do that until I have a vaccine. But so I don't know what this calculus looks like once things are back to whatever normal is going to be defined as.
Right.
But Yeah, I was happy with the purchase. I was thankful that we got to split it. That's the advantage
Yeah.
of our Disney Plus account. We call the Doof Media Disney Plus account.
Right.
But yeah, I think I'm with you on that. It's steep if you're watching the movie by yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Disney has very specifically targeted only a handful of movies for this. I think this is only the second one, right? Mulan was the first one. This is the second. They didn't do this with Pixar's movie Soul. I don't think they've said they're going to do it with any other movies yet. So they're picking and choosing very specifically. And I feel this feels like a movie you rent for your family, and the monetary equation starts to look a lot better when you're renting it for you and your kids and your partner.
Right. Yeah. So I guess, I guess one final comment before spoilers is like it's a recommend for me. Spend the $30 if you have kids, or if you're going to watch it with a few other people and you really appreciate animation. Even if you don't have any kids and you're just a group of people who appreciate animation, I still think you might still think that was a net positive use of your time. I mean, these get, Disney knows how to make a movie.
Yeah, that's true. I think you're right. I mean, I think a lot of our listeners are kind of animation nerds in a lot of ways, and I think this is a movie that you want to check out if for that reason only.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into spoilers. Spoiler bumper. We don't have any music or anything to play, but
No.
Spoilers. All right, Matt. Let's talk about this movie in a little more detail now. So, I'm not sure where to start here. I guess I want to start on Kelly Marie Tran, and I want to talk about, obviously we have to talk about our theme of trust, right? Because that's very transparently the overall theme here of trust.
Like very explicitly. And
yeah. Like, I think one of the characters literally says it's all about trust to another character. Like I said, this movie is not playing in subtlety, and I think that works to the movie's favor. There's no there's no kind of confusion about what this movie is trying to say and do. But the thing I really like about it is you kind of hinted about Raya's anger and Raya's rage at times. She is a character who's very, very mad. She's very angry.
Yeah.
And she's angry at the world, and she's angry at herself, and she's motivated almost entirely by her anger in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I think Kelly Marie Tran just does a really, really great job at that. And I think that's a character trait that, like, especially in movies like this, characters are not allowed to explore, really. Like, we shy away from extreme anger and rage in kids' movies because, like, we're trying to shelter them from these things. And I really love that the movie just allowed her to be that. That was just a really, really key part of her character throughout most of the movie, was this rage that fuels her.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like you said, a lot of it is rage at yourself. I feel like a lesser movie would have, like, there's a scene where Raya, I don't know why I forget the pronunciation. I think it's because my daughter, my littlest daughter, says Raya for some reason, and then I say Raya. But anyway,
it is Raya.
Oh, it is Raya. Okay,
yeah,
then it's Raya. Raya. And I think the problem is I think she's saying it wrong because she says a lot of things wrong. So Raya, has a conversation with Sisu. Yeah, Sisu.
Yes,
and that's like the. What's the name of the conversation where the two characters just say what the theme is and argue about it? That's that conversation. and in a lesser movie, Sisu would just successfully persuade Raya to be more trusting and forgiving, and that would be the end of the movie. Like that would be then they would just go win, right?
Yeah,
they would just go win. It would be disappointing and lame, but instead, Raya is consistently like a believable character who is like, no, like I don't trust them because they have earned my distrust, like they stole from me, and then I love that, like the culmination of the movie, the climactic sequence is it is that the sort of the antagonist is
Namari.
Namari is actually hovering on the edge of succumbing to joining their side, but Raya still can't trust her.
Yeah,
and she's the one who like preemptively tries to stop her from shooting Sisu, causing Sisu to be shot, and it's a great sequence. And then Raya just loses it and goes full full psycho for a bit.
Yeah.
But then realizes like this happened because I didn't listen, because I didn't trust her.
The Namari Raya relationship is such a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I love this. Like, and it was interesting. On my second view, I paid attention to the fact that the quote unquote prologue of this movie takes 20 minutes of its runtime, and this is not a super long movie. I think it's like an hour and 45 minutes. So they spend a lot of time on Raya as a young girl and her meeting Namari for the first time and her first taste of betrayal. And I think it's so important that we establish that relationship, because these are two girls that, like, you know, they don't get to spend a lot of time with each other, but there's a connection immediate there. And I like, look, I don't know. The movie obviously doesn't say if it's anything beyond just a friendship connection. I think there's a read of this movie that you can say that they have stronger feelings than just friendship for each other, but I don't think Disney's quite ready for that yet. So it doesn't really ever put anything down textually, but I think that's a completely fair read of the movie, that these women have a connection that goes beyond friendship into something a little more romantic. Again, not textual at all, but anyway. And I love that their anger at each other, their disappointment in each other, and it's so powerful. And I love that the movie allows that to kind of ebb and flow over the course of the film. I think you're right that it's absolutely great that Raya is so set in her ways and convinced that Namari will never join their side, never. And then Awkwafina, as Sisu, has this wonderful conversation that she convinces her. But you're right, they're human, and they're not. It's just not like one conversation is going to be like, oh yeah, of course, I understand your side now.
Yeah.
And so they both mess up in the end. They both know the right thing to do, and I love the line when Namari's like, you're as responsible for Sisu's death as I am.
Yeah.
And she's right. That's the great thing. It's like, it's not just an antagonist tricking you. She's totally right. They're both responsible for this moment, and they both need to take responsibility for it.
Yeah. I mean, especially when I watched it the second time, I realized how exactly correct that is. Like that's not that is not a trick. Yeah. I mean, I think another thing about the two characters, protagonist and antagonist, Namari and Raya, is that they are so similar, and that is evident from the beginning. Like they both love, dragons, and sword fighting or whatever. Like they have all the same interests, and they should be best friends because they're so similar. Why are they not best friends? It's because they're from these two different cultures where because of the way the world works, it has been decided you can't trust them. Why you can't trust them because they have like some kind of incentive to not be on our side. And I mean, it's such a themes are always obviously the best if they resonate with reality, but like that's such a good theme, because it's like, man, that is really actually why there is so much conflict in the world. Is like, man, we are all similar. We all are really, really similar. But there are these sort of like stupid contingent interests that come between us, and then we get it in our head that those guys over there are our enemy, and they're not like us, and we can't trust them. And it's like that in and of itself becomes the thing that's destructive. It has nothing, like it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like once you've decided you can't trust someone, they are in a sense correct to not trust you, right? And
the Droog represent this idea made physical form, right? They are the physical manifestation of the lack of trust that consumes people, and through that consumption multiplies. I love the touch that when they turn someone to stone, they split, right? That's such a, like, it is just a great way to represent this this distrust and how it just multiplies and spreads like wildfire. It's such a good idea. I love it.
I love the Droog. I love their appearance. I love the sound they make.
Yeah.
I was like, while I was watching it, I was sitting there just kind of going like, just making it, and then I was like, it's kind of like the Terminator 2 sound. Anyway, I love it. I love it.
I mean, I think the most important thing this movie does, that with this, it's one thing to say you're a movie that's discussing the importance of trust, and I think it's a good theme to discuss, and I think it's a good thing to talk to children about. I think the movie, what it does right is it recognizes how difficult it is to trust people. It doesn't shy away from that, right?
Yeah.
It knows and understands that, hey, this shit isn't easy. It is not, especially when someone has lied to you or backstabbed you or hurt you in the past. being able to trust them is almost impossible. And sometimes you still have to do it though. And I love that about it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's such a powerful and important message, but if it made it too easy, if it made it just simple, like the movie even has these moments with Sisu where her just willingness to trust gets her in trouble.
Yeah.
It hurts her. And you have these moments where like, oh God, is Sisu going to learn the opposite lesson from this world? Is she going to, she's kind of the fresh, innocent eyes on this new world, and is it going to corrupt her? And I mean, we didn't go that route because she's like textually above human, right? She's a dragon, she's a god in some ways. So like I think she has a purity to her that is not corruptible by that. But they left that door open, and they took the time to have those moments where she feels that way.
Yeah,
and that's really cool.
The element of the con baby is great, right? This is a story about trust, and in a sense, having a con baby is just a joke, but it's a con baby. It's a baby whose method of survival in this cruel, harsh world is to lie and manipulate and steal from people. That like what a symbol, man! Like on top of being a joke, it's like even the baby, even the innocent of this world have to lie and cheat in order to survive. That is the depths to which humanity is incapable of trust and suffers for it. I mean, I like didn't really think about that before now, but like, yes, it's a joke, but also it is one of the more like on the nose thematic beats of the story.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but like you were saying, very, very few movies that come to mind really nail the dramatic conveyance of the theme in the climax, because like you said, you can't just say like, you can't just have Raya say, okay, I trust you, Namari. Like, no, she has to say, here's the stone.
Yeah, I'll take the first step.
I'll take the first step. I just give it to you. And then I sacrifice myself, and I just am trusting that you're going to do the right thing, and there's nothing I can do about this beyond that. And then that's the thing, is everyone else realizes like I don't have any like maybe emotionally still don't really like this person who they all kind of feel that she stabbed him in the back, but they're like, I guess we all just have to trust her. That's all there is to do, is to just trust her, and then they do, and that's what works. That's what does it. Yeah,
and kind of a reverse of the droog is this idea that trust can spread like wildfire too. That one person takes one step and it motivates the rest of them. Well, if she was able to do it, then I can do it. It's really, really powerful. I love it. And I love that the movie gives a moment for Namari to almost make the wrong decision again. It's such a small little beat, but like in the moments where everyone else is dead, they're all turned to stone except for Namari. She has all the stones, and rocks fall and open a path out of the little crater they're in, right? And she starts to take off. She starts to walk up the steps and just abandon everyone. And so it's such an important moment to really cement visually the agony of the choice and the difficulty of the choice, to say, okay, they've put all their trust in me. I'm going to do the right thing now, because that's the power. I mean, that's like textually the power of people having faith in you creates incredible magic,
right? But and I love that her character specifically, we had the scene where she goes home to her mom and she's like, they have a dragon, they have like they found Sisu, they have Sisu, we should join them. And her mom is like, we can't trust people because we have all these resources, and also they think we caused all this, and they're gonna blame us, and it's like she has a very kind of rational argument for being distrustful, for being uncooperative, for defecting in the prisoner's dilemma sense.
But it's what I love is it's all wrapped up in that central idea of trust and the lack of faith.
Exactly.
Right? The reason why her mother believes that is because she doesn't have the trust in the people to be able to put aside their hatred of them, and they're shelving them with the responsibility for making the world this way. It's such efficient storytelling that it all comes together. Everything pours in and out of this central theme in just a really satisfying way.
Yeah, right. I mean, even literally everything. That's the thing. Like the first thing that happens is the father, the chief invites everyone to come, and he attempts to extend trust.
Mm-hmm.
His trust is betrayed. Which the lesson Raya learns from that is we shouldn't trust anyone, and he was wrong. But then in the end, it was his extending of trust that led to the final vanquishing of the Droon and the resurrection of all of the dragons, which was the big victory, right?
Yeah.
So it was actually the right move. It just took longer to
took
fruit.
A few years. Yeah. It's interesting. The movie never goes into a detailed explanation of exactly why the dragons did not come back after the first attempt and why this attempt is successful in bringing them all back. I mean, I think it's basically because, the power of trust amongst all species is almost more, it has more power to it, right? That it brings back not just all the people, but the dragons as well. But the movie never spells that out for you.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it needed to.
I'm not complaining, but I mean, that's I think because you have a theme that is so simple and so obvious, it allows you to craft the story around it in wonderful ways like that. I mean, I also love that just the structure of the story is we're going from culture to the father sets up at the very beginning of the movie that we need to bring these disparate cultures together and form one land again. And then you realize very quickly as you're going through the movie that, Raya's hopping from culture to culture and picking up a representative of that culture to join her team. So she's literally creating a Kumandra as she's going through her adventure. And that's just wonderful.
Yeah. It's Team Avatar.
It totally is. It totally is. But it works.
It works. Because it gives it these great moments, and each of those characters is delightful in their own way, even though they only get a little bit of development. And yeah, I mean, there's just little stuff like they're like, the big strong guy knows the baby's name because he took the time to spend more time with the baby. And doesn't he say, "What? None of you looked at her collar?"
Yeah, it's written on her collar. None of you looked at it. He's great. I mean, I almost wish we could spend more time with these. That's kind of what I meant about it's not that the pacing is too fast for me. I just I don't know. I were so fascinated by all these characters and these places, and I just wanted to live in them a little bit longer. That's kind of one of the things I was reading some critique of this movie, and one of the things that some people said was this movie, obviously these are a bunch of Southeast Asian cultures, right? But the movie lacks specificity with any of these things. It's just kind of an amalgamation and a mishmash, and it feels weird to call this a critique, and I'm not sure how much I even think this hurts the movie, but one of the things I really loved about let's say Moana or Coco is that I really felt in those movies that I got a really good understanding of the culture through the movie. And I know they don't get it perfect, and it's impossible to sum up an entire culture of peoples in a 2-hour movie. But I really, that's one of the reasons I really liked those movies, because they pick things that are very important culturally to these two different cultures, and they made the movies about them. This movie is such an amalgamation of a very broad group of people, and it doesn't have any specificity to it. So there's nothing I don't feel like I walked away from this movie going yes, I understand Southeast Asian culture now, because I don't.
Yeah.
And it's I don't think that's the movie is as interested in doing that, but it just does make you think if you removed this movie from Southeast Asia, except for the visuals, would this narrative change at all? And I don't really think it would.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, no. It's set dressing, right? I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia, and some of these cultures, I was like, is this supposed to be Thailand or Malaysia or Indonesia? Could be any of these. It's kind of a syncretism of all of them.
Yeah, and I don't think you could point at any of the disparate city cultures in Kumandra and clearly identify this is supposed to be this is right. It's even within each of those individual ones, it feels like an amalgamation, a very broad swipe at a lot of different people.
Right.
And like I said, like I'm not sure, like it's more of a missed opportunity than it is this makes me not like the movie, you know? Like I adored the movie, but I just wonder, like, if you're gonna like choose to set your movie here, I wish you could bring a little bit more of those peoples into it, than just the set dressing, you know?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think, like, it's presumably there is no even remotely similar actual legend of Sisu in the last.
I don't think so. I mean, I did very, very cursory research on this, so like if I'm wrong, I would love for people to come out and tell me I'm wrong.
It doesn't.
There's nothing I could find.
This
No.
seems like a very modern theme, honestly.
Yes.
So I just would be surprised, and also it's just like it hangs together too well as a script for me to believe that it was like adapted, you know.
Yeah.
But so the point of saying that is, like, you can't, whatever culture you kind of shoehorn into it is going to feel shoehorned, because it is just a made up story. But like, yeah,
Sure.
I don't know. I get what you're saying. I don't know what that would look like exactly, although that doesn't mean that it wouldn't have been a good idea to try.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I also like I can't help but, this is me getting meta in a way that I shouldn't, but I think it's a good thing to maybe end our conversation on. I see Kelly Marie Tran as this actress who like got this big break in Star Wars, right? Like she got this big break in playing this character in The Last Jedi, and I thought she was great in the role. I really did. A lot of people on the internet did not, to the point where the worst parts of the Star Wars fandom harassed this woman until she left social media, because she was just being constantly harassed by people and she couldn't take it anymore. And so I inadvertently, without realizing I was doing it, like putting a lot of Kelly Marie Tran's rage at the things she experienced into the character of Raya, especially since it was coming from her voice. And I don't think there's anything in the movie that's doing that, but like I just imagine, especially in a movie about trust, like you've been hurt before, and this is like her big moment outside of her characters in Star Wars. And so like there's a lot I read into her experience with people online in this movie.
Yeah, that's funny. I did not know it was Kelly Marie Tran, so.
Oh, really?
So I didn't have any ability to read into anything. No.
Yeah.
No, I no, honestly, I was like, oh, I wonder who the voice actor is. She's great. And then proceeded to not look that up. But no, I don't know. I mean, yeah, like you said, the deep anger of the character is a super important part of the story. Like it would not, I was thinking during my second viewing, I was like, oh, she is a princess. She's a Disney princess.
Oh, yeah.
She has a magical animal companion. She like, etc. But I was like, why? And then I was like, for a second, I was like, why didn't I notice that the first time? And I was like, oh, it's because she's so angry. Like Disney princesses, like, Rapunzel's trapped in a tower for her entire life, and she's not this angry. But she's, that's the point of her character, is the anger and getting over the anger.
Yeah. And I love that they did that.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that they allowed a young woman like this to experience that kind of anger and to process it and learn to deal with it. And it's just a thing that, yeah, you're exactly right. Like previous Disney princesses should have been a way more pissed off about things than they were, but women are not allowed to do that, right? They're especially princesses, not allowed to experience that emotion. And one of the cool things about the coolest things about this movie is that they allow this character to do that, and it's not seen as extraordinary. This is a movie that I think is done very, very well. But storytelling wise, it's all done well, but it's not doing anything super new in the storytelling department. But I think it's cool that this is just what we're doing now, and it's really great. It's really great that like we're allowed to do these Disney princess movies and really get into the characters and explore different emotions and different feelings and different beats and like there's not a textual romance plot in this thing at all.
Right.
There's a subtextual one if you want to read that into it. But I just love it. I love that we're doing this. It's so cool.
Yeah. I really did love it. Yeah. Yeah, I guess my final comment would just be how genius the design of Sisu is.
Oh my god.
And I mean that both in a cynical and a not cynical way. Like just the way she is and the way she moves. It's like if you've ever like well, one of the first. This is some mad history. One of the first chapter books I ever read as a kid that you would call a chapter book was about like a water dragon. She was the protagonist, and it was like a very cool magical tale, sort of drawn from Chinese folklore. And I think it was actually just kind of a novelization retelling of some Chinese folklore stories, and so like to have this really cool depiction of the kind of the flowy, bouncy water dragon, very very cool. But also like just the colors and the design, it just like you could see my daughter's especially eyes just like dilating in real time, in response to this like amazingly um you know just kind of keyed in to appeal to kids visual design.
Oh yeah.
So I appreciated
she's so
that.
pretty.
She's so pretty.
She's so pretty.
She's like a flowy horse dragon, which is
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I love that, like, obviously the animators had to like sit down and like, okay, this very long-tailed thing with legs very far apart from each other, like how would this thing move? What would that look like? And they did something that, you're right, I think channels the flow of water. I think also channels like the dragon puppets of that kind, like it channels that kind of movement along. It's just really great.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked about Aquafina, but I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like she has to play this like traditional Disney anachronistic sounding character, which they do over and over again. It's the Aladdin genie. Like it's the one that sounds like she's not from this world and she's just from our world, because she's not making like direct pop culture references, but like getting as close as possible.
Yeah.
And I think she plays that really well while still, getting into the pathos of the character and having the moments. Like she's goofy and very silly, and a lot of laughs come from her, what she's doing and what she's saying. But then at the very end of the movie, when she's reborn and she kind of like, Raya runs to meet her and she's standing there and she says Raya. Like, I don't know what Awkwafina did in that moment, but like she just sounded regal. Like I was like, just like the way she says Raya's name, it's like, oh, holy shit. Like she's a god dragon. Like, like
it was like it was like she'd been pretending to be goofy up to that point or something. I get what you mean, actually.
It like, I was kind of blown away by it, because I both times I felt this way, and I like stopped and rewound it and was like, okay, what is she doing with her voice? Like part of it I think is the way the dragon's holding herself. Part of it is just the confidence with which Awkwafina delivers just a name. But yeah, there is this real feeling of like she's been reborn, and Raya has like passed the test, if you want to call it that. And so it's this god looking at you with utmost respect and love. And I just fucking loved it to death.
Oh yeah. She is a fish out of water also, which is good. No.
I love the joke that her magic is being really good at swimming. And like at first you think she's just just kind of kidding, but it's actually just, her power is that she's really good at swimming.
Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah. What like the we were just talking about kind of the great Sisu moments, and just I think one of the things that's unique about this movie is like the antagonist corners them and is fighting them, and there's no escape, and Sisu is forced to reveal herself and confronts the antagonist, and Namari is just like stunned and like obviously like humbled and like almost like crying with happiness at seeing Sisu. And you're like, well, this is, number one, obviously the correct reaction for this character, but also like not what you expect to happen, because you're like, but she's the antagonist, and it's just such a great moment, and it's just a great interplay.
Namari is such a great character, such a great antagonist for this movie. I mean, one of the scenes that really stuck out to me on my second viewing was the moment where she's riding through the stone graveyard of all the dead dragons, and on her way out, she like stops to do the sign of respect to them on her way out. I think that's such an important character moment for her, because up until that point, like she confronts Raya and says like, wait, you're really looking for Sisu still? What are you, a child? And so like you think that she's a character that has like totally abandoned this similarity she had with Raya. And then in a really clever zero dialogue way, they just show her ride through this graveyard of dead dragons and just does this simple sign of respect. And it tells you so much about who she is as a character, because she still feels the exact same way she did when she was a child, but she's hiding it now because she feels like she has to in a world like this.
Yeah, exactly.
She amazing.
Yeah, she's had to become hard. I mean, the first thing we see her do as an adult is have to like kick a man's ass to establish authority. And it's like, yeah, she's had to be hardened by her life. And you which establishes her as being awesome and fearsome and a worthy antagonist, but also like, yeah, that sounds exhausting. Yeah.
So really, really great movie. I don't have anything else to say about it other than I just really liked it.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. So that is Raya and the Last Dragon, available now on Disney Plus and in theaters if you pay $30. Available everywhere on Disney Plus in June sometime. All right, Matt, we have to talk about the results of last week's conversation about Dark City. We talked about it. We both voted no on this movie, and then we put it up to our listeners for the vote. And it was a close one, Matt. It was a really close one. But with a vote of 55 to 45%, the listeners have voted no on Dark City getting into our canon of great films.
Yeah, I mean, not surprised considering how hard we kind of dragged it in our discussion.
Sure.
But I mean, man, 45% of people said yes, and that's worthy. That seems like the closest we've had. Is it?
I think it is. I think it's the closest vote we've ever had. Yeah.
So it'll have to be noted in the log.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, one of the biggest pieces of feedback we got, like across the board, via emails on Reddit, comments elsewhere, was, I can't believe you guys didn't watch the director's cut. Like, I think we got some people that said yes, but only if you're talking about the director's cut, right? So, I mean, the sentiment across the board was, you guys fucked up. And so what I did was, in the copious amounts of free time I have, I went back this week and I watched the director's cut of this movie because I was curious. And obviously, like, you can't redo your first experience, right? It's impossible. Right. Unless you have like some alien race that's coming and like deleting all your memories and putting memories in your head and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
But I will say the director's cut is a better movie. It's 100%. It's a better movie. The biggest change is that stupid voiceover we criticized so badly at the beginning of our show is gone. And obviously I couldn't like see the movie from the perspective of someone who didn't know what was happening, because it's my second watch. But I was kind of able to briefly like put my head in what that perspective would be like, and the opening of the movie is so much better without it explaining everything. Like, it just guy wakes up in a bathtub, there's a dead girl, and he doesn't remember anything, and then weird shit keeps happening, and then we'd have the big reveal of what's going on. It just works that way so much better. I will say, I still think my no was the right decision, even after watching the director's cut. I like it's totally better. Yeah. Everyone was right out there. It's a better movie. It's better paced. It's a little bit longer, but I think the director allows some scenes to extend a little bit longer. There's just more dialogue. There's more character building. We learn more about the detective. We learn more about his wife. We learn more about their relationship. We learn more about what motivates him a little bit. But the problems I had with the movie, the big problems I have with the movie, don't go away in the director's cut. And it's a good movie. It's a really good movie. It's just not one of the best movies of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah. I was thinking about it a lot this week, and I remembered, I think I mentioned that I had like seen the movie before, but so long ago that it might as well not count. I think I was literally in high school, and I was thinking more about that, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I did see the director's cut, because I remembered the beginning being extremely confusing and definitely not knowing that there were aliens in the movie until like just not having any idea what was going on, right? And if you watch the theatrical cut, then you immediately know that they're aliens, it's in the voiceover. So I still was really bored by that movie when I was in high school. Like, that is my recollection. I'm sorry. It was, maybe I was a dumb person in high school, but I found it boring, and I have to give some credence to that like I literally might not have even finished it. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I also stand by my I figure with the canon, it should either be hell yes or no,
Mhm.
and I definitely can't say hell yes about this movie.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of moments that I was kind of, as I was watching it, I was questioning myself and saying, like, am I understanding this movie a little bit better because the director's cut is better? Or am I understanding this movie a little bit better because this is my second viewing and I can kind of catch on to what the movie's doing earlier? And I obviously don't know how to answer that question. I think the movie just, I think in both ways it worked better to me as a director's cut. It worked better to me on a second viewing, like both. But yeah, I'm with you on the it's still not a hell yeah.
Yeah, right.
So sorry for everyone that really likes this movie. I totally understand why. I think a lot of people gave some really great feedback. There's a lot of people talked about German Impressionism, which is again a type of film I just don't know a lot about. But just didn't work for me, and not canon worthy, and the audience agrees.
Yep.
So there we go.
Doof.
All right, Matt, speaking of votes and audience and all that stuff, it's time for us to talk about the Doof Madness, our 64 movie tournament bracket that is very quickly being whittled down to just a few movies. Before we get into our votes for the Sweet 16, we have to talk about the results of last week's matchups. We had 16 matchups, 32 movies, and we got to talk about how you folks voted at home. So I'm going to go through these in the order of, like, you know, the biggest blowouts to the closest matches. That's what we're going to go down. So at the top of the list, the biggest blowout of the second round was our number 1 seed movie, The Matrix, taking out Hellboy 91 to 9%. It was brutal.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
Once again, that Lizardman's constant raises its head with that 9%. Yep, absolutely brutal. It's The Matrix.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested in the people that voted Hellboy. 9% of you. Why'd you vote for Hellboy?
Fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. Next, after that falls the next matchup: Mad Max Fury Road versus Pacific Rim. Mad Max Fury Road takes it with 86%. Yeah, I mean, I can understand loving Pacific Rim enough that you would put it over Mad Max Fury Road, but I think that I'm not surprised to see Mad Max won.
Totally. Next up, we also have a number 1 seed, Princess Bride, which defeats The Village 86 to 14%. Not particularly close, not particularly surprising either. Princess Bride.
I do love The Village.
The right movie won.
But yes, I feel like that's right. Utter classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next, Who Framed Roger Rabbit takes the win with 80% over Captain Marvel.
And that's the right choice. Yeah.
I think that's the right choice. I feel like it's not surprising to me either that that Roger Rabbit would not do even better, just because I feel like it's like an old movie that I think is just generally overlooked, in my opinion. But it still won though, so I'm happy.
Yeah. We have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which went up against Gone Girl, and Spider-Man wins with 79 to 21%. I gotta say, I am a little bit surprised that Spider-Man didn't put up bigger numbers on this. I think Gone Girl is much more of a loved movie than I considered at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because Spider-Man, if I had to pick a number 1 overall seed, I would have put Spider-Man, and I'm not as confident on that anymore.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I wonder if I don't know. I don't have a theory for this. We'll see what happens next round, perhaps.
Yeah.
The Prestige takes it with 78% over Glass. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I'm sad to see Glass go, but I think this is the right move.
Yeah.
And then we see Fight Club beats Stardust 73 to 27%. Again, Stardust is a lovely movie, but Fight Club was better. So I see.
Yep.
It's fair. Yeah.
Yep. We got some Fincher love. Starship Troopers versus Us. Starship Troopers takes it with 72% versus 28%. So things are getting pretty close at this point.
I'm surprised that Us didn't perform better here. I really am.
Yeah. I think maybe it's, if I had to wave my hands and confabulate an explanation, I think maybe just not a huge amount of people saw Us.
I guess that's probably true.
Like
at least compared to Starship Troopers.
Compared to Starship Troopers, which everyone has seen. So that would be my made up explanation.
Fair. Next, we have Pan's Labyrinth, which took on the Chronicles of Riddick and defeated it 71 to 29%. Pretty good showing for your guy there, Matt.
I'm pleased. I'm pleased at how close it is.
71% is close.
It's close.
Sure, Matt.
29% for Chronicles of Riddick. Thank you. You 29%. I appreciate you. Next, we have Avengers Endgame versus Signs. Avengers Endgame takes it 67% versus Signs at 33%. So that is honestly closer than I expected, and pretty cool to see.
Yeah, some good representation for Signs there.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
Next, we have Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow, which took on Unbreakable and defeated Unbreakable 66 to 34%. Also pretty proud of my boy Unbreakable there for doing for hanging in there.
Yeah.
Hanging in there.
Yeah. Not surprised to see everybody's favorite feel-good movie, Live, Die, Repeat. The Sixth Sense versus The Mist. Jesus Christ. Sixth Sense takes it with 58% of the vote. Two movies that make you feel really bad. But one of them makes you feel good at the end, and that's the one that won.
That is very true. Oh my gosh. Especially compared to The Mist. My God. It's getting closer as we get closer to the end of the list, Matt. And we have our first upset of the round with number 3 seed 7 falling to The Fifth Element, 56 to 44%. The Fifth Element takes the victory.
Over 7.
I'm shocked. I'm appalled. I think you guys need to watch The Fifth Element again.
Yeah. To be clear, Scott said several numbers in a row. 7 is the film.
Yes, 7. The movie 7.
Yeah, 7 loses to The Fifth Element.
56 to 44%.
I am surprised at this. Yeah. The Fifth Element, I've said it before, did not hold up in my opinion, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
I like it better than you. And even I am still kind of bummed out by the result of this. I think The Fifth Element is a really, really fun movie. I think 7 is an all-timer. So
7 is just a really unpleasant movie. But the thing is, when I rewatched it and studied it in context of Fincher, I liked it even more than I already did. Whereas The Fifth Element, when I rewatched it, I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right. And another upset, Scott, we have the fourth, tell me if I'm reading this right, the 4th seed, Primer, versus Zodiac, which was the 5th seed. Zodiac takes it. So your baby, Zodiac, beat out over Primer.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy about this.
56 to 44. Yeah.
It was close. But my boy prevailed.
Yep.
Next up, we have Akira versus Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Akira, our number 2 seed, takes the victory, 56 to 44%. Very close. Very, very close. But the anime classic wins it. It's the lowest performing number 2 seed in the bracket. So I'm wondering if it's going to make it to the next round here. We'll see what it's matched up against in a moment here, but things aren't looking good for Akira.
Yeah, I know. And then the last matchup of the day, the nearest margin, an absolute nail biter, an upset. We have The Social Network, which was the number 4 seed, versus Snowpiercer, which was the number 5 seed, with Snowpiercer taking the win, 51 to 49.
Mere votes, just a handful of votes separated the winners on that one. So close. I'm a little bit bummed about this. I really love The Social Network, but Snowpiercer is a good movie.
Yeah, we did just watch that one. We did just talk about it. Maybe there's a bit of a recency effect, or maybe Snowpiercer is just 1% better than The Social Network.
Could be. All right, Matt, let's move on to the Sweet 16. Before we get there, I just want to say, just look at our overall bracket, right? All of our number 1 seeds are still in the game. All of our number 2 seeds are still in the game. We have 3 number 3 seeds still in the game and 2 number 4 seeds.
Yeah.
Our lowest remaining seed is a 6 seed that made it to the Sweet 16. So we have a 1 6 seed in the Sweet 16, 2 5 seeds. That's pretty good. That's pretty good seeding, me.
Yeah. Well done.
I'm just going to pat myself on the back real quick.
Full credit to Scott for constructing some really, really nice brackets.
We also have 1 Shyamalan film left. We have one Del Toro film left. We have 2 Fincher films left, and we have 1 Wachowski films left. So of our deconstructing series, they make up 5 of our 16 is our deconstructing, which is a little surprising, but they're not doing well compared to the rest of the bracket.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they pull more than their weight this round.
We will find out. Let's move into Sweet 16. And our first matchup of the day is a big one. We have Mad Max Fury Road up against the juggernaut that is Avengers Endgame. I'm starting to think that a 4 seed for Avengers Endgame might have been too low. I think maybe I should have put it a little higher because it's doing way better than I thought it would. Will it stop here against Mad Max Fury Road?
Well, I'm going to guess yes because I'm voting Mad Max Fury Road.
Okay, so am I. I am voting Mad Max Fury Road.
Good movies, but Mad Max just has so many more moments that I will literally just go watch on YouTube.
Yeah. Alex in the comments says, AKA end of the road.
Reader says Fury Road is just such a well-composed movie, while Endgame is just another entry in the MCU, which is a little harsh.
It's true, though.
It is true.
It happens to be a very good entry.
I've said like 6 times now, like I love Infinity War. I thought Endgame was pretty good. So yeah. All right. Next matchup, I Am Jack's Multipass. We have Fight Club versus The Fifth Element. Get out of here, Fifth Element.
Can we just pause for a minute to talk about how great that matchup title was?
It is the best.
That's pretty good,
ever.
Right?
It is the best ever.
A Fifth Element shouldn't be here. It shouldn't even be here. So I'm voting for Fight Club.
Unfortunately, we have Riader in the comments saying the zaniness in music wins The Fifth Element the place. They say I Am Jack's round of single elimination.
Riader, why? And we have Damien who says this one hurt, but I don't know what Damien voted here. Hopefully you did the right thing, Damien.
Yeah, right.
All right, we have Night Prowlers, which puts number 1 seed Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse against one of my favorite movies of all time, David Fincher's Zodiac. Matt, what are you going to do here?
Shoot. These are such different movies.
They are.
Live
really
in different parts of my brain. Also, I'm really hung up on whether you were making some kind of reference to Nightcrawler being another. Never mind.
No, because there's their character in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse named Prowler, and the Zodiac prowls. Look, sometimes these are harder than others.
I did get that, but then I was also thinking about whether that was.
If you want to pull a second meaning from this that makes me look smarter than I am, the answer is always yes. That's what I meant to do.
That's good. And I was just stalling while I thought. I think I'm going to vote for Zodiac.
Okay.
I can't even tell you why. I like both of these movies. They're so different. They're not even close. I just feel like Zodiac right now.
I love both of these movies. I adore both of these movies. I said last week that I will continue to vote for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse until a certain point, and this is the exact point. I knew this was probably going to come, and I knew I was going to vote for Zodiac.
Sounds
here.
Good.
It is, again, like I said, one of my favorite movies of all times. It is Fincher's masterpiece. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is very good, but it is not as good as Zodiac. But that's okay, because it's probably going to win anyway.
Yep. Next, we have manga versus light novel. Akira versus Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow. What do you think?
I'm going for the upset. Edge of Tomorrow is going to win this one. And I think it should, so I'm voting for it.
I agree with you. I like that movie. I could watch it any time of day. Akira is a classic, but I don't necessarily feel that strongly about it.
Yeah. I Akira is a classic in that type of movie, the type of thing where I say Akira is a classic and I don't have anything else to say about it. Yeah. It's a good movie. I don't want to take anything away from it, but as Riader says in our comments, Live, Die, Repeat is probably the best Tom Cruise movie, of which he's had a whole lot.
And Cross says, Live, Die every week when I have to vote on these matchups. Repeat until March is over. Yeah, that's how I feel too.
Oh, and we're not even. I don't know. I think it's gonna get real hard real soon.
Yep.
Next, we have Ghosts in the Machine, which sees number 1, The Matrix, against number 5, Snowpiercer. Thankfully for me, this is a pretty easy decision. It's going to be The Matrix.
Yeah, I clicked The Matrix like immediately. So. Like that's the problem is some of these movies I love so much that it is just really easy. And that's going to be true until it's suddenly the hardest choice of my life.
Yes, absolutely.
Speaking of which, we just did The Matrix, and now we have Bugs Bunny, which is Who Framed Roger Rabbit versus Starship Troopers. This is already becoming very hard for me, but you go first.
Yeah, this is the hardest one of the week. I don't want to vote. I don't want to, but I have to. I am going to say Who Framed Roger Rabbit because I'm going to fall back on what is not fair, but maybe, but true, is that watching this movie again, like, opened my eyes to how, like, clinically amazing it is at character development, and it's just the right move to make. And so I love Starship Troopers, but I think Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a movie that I will return to every so often when I just need a refresher on, hey, how do you build character efficiently? Yeah,
I love Who Framed Roger Rabbit kind of a ridiculous amount. And I'm just kind of afraid of when it comes up against like The Matrix or something like that.
It's coming.
We're not there yet, but yeah. And we have Riader say, "I'm doing my part." In the comments.
So I guess Riader voted for.
I guess so.
This is one of those ones where I'm not sure what the outcome is going to be. Like, that could go either way. Starship Troopers is a very popular movie. It really could go either way.
I bet Starship Troopers wins just because. Like nobody, I don't know. I watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit like once a month, basically, because my kids love it and I also love it, which just means that when I want to put something on, I'm like, okay, well, that's not only a safe choice, but a movie that I just really want to watch endlessly. So,
all right.
Nobody else feels that way about it, I don't think, but I love it.
I mean, we will see.
Yep.
All right, we have our penultimate matchup of the week is To the Pain, which I named this because this one really hurts me. We have number 1, Princess Bride, versus number 4 seed, The Sixth Sense. What are you going to do here, Matt?
The Sixth Sense is a masterpiece. And like if I like the test, if you have to like burn one of these movies forever, I could never burn The Sixth Sense. So I have to pick that one.
I'm going to agree with you on this one. Princess Bride is an all-time movie. The Sixth Sense is like the masterwork of a master director. Like it's the better movie. It's The Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense is a masterpiece. It is an absolute masterpiece. It is so good. Everyone needs to go watch The Sixth Sense right now and just look at how fucking good the direction of that movie is. The Princess Bride is a classic. It's probably going to win, but The Sixth Sense is the better movie.
Yeah, and I think it might actually be the best Shyamalan movie, which is something we talked about in our deconstruction. We were like, it's really too bad that his best movie was like his first movie, basically.
It is really too bad.
We had in the comments Riader saying Sixth Sense is good, but Princess Bride is funnier.
I mean, that is true.
I can't argue with that.
And Al says Sixth Sense has been riding the hype train until now. Princess Bride is just too well told a tale to lose this round. I mean, it is a very well told tale, but so is The Sixth Sense. Watch the scene where he talks to his mom about what his grandma said to her, and try to vote no to that movie. It is one of the most powerful moments on film. It makes me cry every time I watch it. It's so fucking good. Vote for The Sixth Sense.
It is very good. The final matchup this round. Do you believe in magic? Pan's Labyrinth versus The Prestige.
Another very hard one. Another very difficult one. I'm going to vote for Pan's Labyrinth. I liked The Prestige, but I am much colder on The Prestige than both you and Michael. Pan's Labyrinth affects me much more emotionally. I think it is Del Toro's undisputed masterpiece, and it deserves to be in the Elite Eight. So goodbye, Prestige. Hello, Pan's Labyrinth.
I find in this moment that I can't vote against the Prestige, actually. So I think this might be the first vote of the day that I split from you.
I am furious with you.
I know. It's funny because we just kind of organically aligned on all the other ones, but I genuinely am just like, the Prestige may be Nolan's best film. Perhaps. I haven't put much thought into that.
It's not.
It's not. Okay.
It's not.
What is Nolan's best film?
Memento. Memento is a better movie.
Memento is a great movie. That is true. I'm sorry. I'm voting for Prestige.
Memento is a movie that it's very well told. It captures all of Nolan's strengths as a filmmaker and hides all of his weaknesses as a filmmaker behind memory loss.
and like a clever narration device, which turns his narration into something that works really well. Okay.
I'm so mad at you, but I'll get over it.
Yeah. So Raya,
this is another one of those ones that I don't know. I legitimately. I mean, I could go check right now, but I like to wait to kind of see.
Yeah.
I wait till Sunday to really check to see how the matches are going. So I think it's going to be very, very close. I think this could be a couple of votes. I think our split could change the course of history.
I think you're right. Reader also agrees this is a very tough vote. They did vote with you. They voted for Pan's Labyrinth. It's too unique. They say, sorry, Nolan, Prestige is one of your best movies. I guess they agree with you on that too. But Pan's Labyrinth takes the visual cake, even if only barely.
Yeah, one of, not best. One of. All right. That's it. That's it for our Sweet 16 matchup. The voting on this one will close Sunday at midnight, and we'll be back next week to talk about the results of this one and vote for the winners of the Elite Eight. The winners of next week go on to the Final Four. And I'm looking at the bracket right now, Matt. Remember your whole Matrix versus Who Framed Roger Rabbit matchup? That's going to be coming next week. Unless something crazy. I mean, Starship Troopers could win. So you're going to have to vote for The Matrix versus either Who Framed Roger Rabbit or Starship Troopers.
Okay, well, one of those is easier than the other for me. But I'm already anxious about this.
Mm-hmm. Me too. And isn't it fun?
It is.
Yeah, so head to doofmedia.com/doofmadness and make sure you vote for this round and keep those comments coming. We love to read them. It's so fun. We're really enjoying this. Thank you to everyone who is participating, and we'll see what happens next week. You never know. It's just wild. It's just wild.
It is.
It's madness, I guess you could call it. All right, folks, that is all we had for you this week. If you have any opinions on Raya and the Last Dragon, on Dark City, or on any of our matchups in the Doof Madness, you can reach out to us via email at doofmedia@gmail.com, on our Twitter account @doofmedia, or you can head on over to reddit.com/r/doofmedia and comment on the episode post there. I also just put up a comment thread to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League. So if you've watched Zack Snyder's Justice League, head on over to our subreddit and let us know what you thought. Both Matt and I have watched Zack Snyder's Justice League, and we're going to do an episode on it eventually. We don't know when yet, but we're definitely going to have to talk about this movie.
Yes, we are. Can't wait.
But first, I want to know what you people thought. So let us know.
Yeah. If you're not already subscribed to the Doofcast, we encourage you to subscribe and ensure you never miss an episode. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, pretty much anywhere else podcasts can be found.
And you can find this and all of our shows over at our website, doofmedia.com. That's where you can find What You Say, which is my show with my wife, where we talk about the Orange County, the hit 2000s teen drama. We just finished up season 3 last week. And we're going to be doing like a season 3 recap episode this coming week. Then we're going to take a little bit of a hiatus because there's a baby coming. But it's a really fun show that I do with my wife and I really enjoy. So you should check that out. It's very silly. It's very, very silly.
Yes, people really love that show. The people who listen to it love it. Yeah, I don't watch the OC, but I've heard good.
The funniest thing about that show is that like half the people that listen to it don't watch the show. Which, tells you how just entertaining my wife is, because
it really does.
She spends 45 minutes each week talking about a show, and people listen to her talk about a show they've never watched. So that's my wife for you.
Excellent.
If you like what we do here and want to support us, consider becoming a patron of Doof Media. Head on over to patreon.com/doofmedia and donate to us at the $5 level, which gives you access to our Doof and Chill sessions, which I believe we're having one today as this episode comes out, right? The 19th of March.
We think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to set that up, Matt. I just realized that as we were talking. Yeah, we like to just get together with our patron supporters for a couple hours and chat with them. And we play games. We play Among Us or we play Jackbox. We just hang out for a couple hours, interact with the people that support us as a thank you to them. It's a lot of fun. So make sure if you want to attend that, head on over to patreon.com/doofmedia, donate at any of the available levels, and a link will come out in the time right before the stream starts. It's usually at 9:30 p.m. on the third Friday of the month. We've been trying to standardize a little bit, get our schedule a little bit more under control.
That's right. Also, please consider rating and reviewing the Doofcast on Apple Podcasts, because every review helps us get more exposure and introduces new people to the content that we make here.
That is right. All right, folks, we will be back next week with an episode. Maybe. I'm having a baby on Monday. So our whole thing's up in the air right now. There probably will be an episode next week. Whether or not I am on it remains to be seen. But we'll be back next Friday, and we hope to see you then.
My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say. My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say.